So let's continue with Act 4, Scene 1. Before this, we saw that Antonio being very passive and he accepts his fate, his destiny, and is ready to suffer the penalty, that is 1 pound of flesh. But the Duke is waiting for the lawyer, Bellario, who is supposed to come to, decide this case. And he comes to know that there is a messenger. So that messenger is none other than Nerissa herself. So Nerissa comes over there as the messenger disguised as lawyer's clerk. So Nerissa is there as lawyer's clerk. Dukes ask, came you from Padua, from Bellario? Have you come from Padua, from Dr. Bellario? Nerissa says, as clerk, from both, my lord. Bellario greets your grace. And then she hands him over a paper, which he reads aside while Shylock sharpens his knife on the sole of his shoe. So, when Nerissa presents the letter, now at that time, you see, the Duke is busy in reading the letter, and Shylock is sharpening his knife on the sole of his shoe. Bassanio asks, why dost thou whet thy knife so earnestly? Why are you whetting? Whetting means sharpen. Why do you sharpen your knife so earnestly, so eagerly? Shylock says, to cut the forfeiture from that bankrupt there. I am doing it to cut the forfeiture. Forfeiture is that pound of flesh from that bankrupt. Bankrupt is Antonio only. Bresciano at this becomes very angry. He says, not on thy soul. Soul is like the sole of your shoe, but on thy soul, harsh Jew, thou makest thy knife keen. You are making your knife keen, you are sharpening your knife not on the sole of your shoe, but on your soul. That is your spirit. No metal can, no, not the hangman's axe, bear half the keenness. Keenness is the sharpness of thy sharp envy. No metal, even the axe of a hangman, cannot be as sharp as your envy is. Can no prayers pierce thee? Can no prayers move you? Pierce you means influence you, move you, pierce your heart. Shylock says, no, none that thou hast wit enough to make. No, no prayers can move me, not any prayers which have wit enough to make. Bresciano says, oh, be thou damned, inexecrable dog. Inexecrable means one who cannot be cursed enough. Okay? One who cannot be cursed enough. So, he abuses him in a way. He says, you are an inexecrable dog. And for thy life, let justice be accused, and justice should be blamed. Accused here means blamed for your life. That you are living for this reason, justice should be blamed. Thou almost makes me waver in my faith. Waver means shake or be unsteady in my faith to hold opinion with Pythagoras. Now, please understand, Pythagoras was a Greek philosopher. You all must be knowing he was a mathematician too. He has given that Pythagoras theorem. Huh? So, who believed that? Now, there was a theory in which he believed, and that theory was that souls of men and animals appear several times on the earth, assuming sometimes higher, sometimes lower forms of life. So, what does it mean? That sometimes, when a man dies, his soul may go into animal's body and he becomes an animal in the next birth. Similarly, an animal's soul may turn into human's body and he may become a human in the next birth. So this is what Pythagoras believed. He said that you have made me waver in my faith and to hold opinion with Pythagoras. Earlier, I never used to believe Pythagoras, but now I have started believing him that souls of animals infuse themselves means enter into the trunks of men. Trunks here means bodies of men. Pythagoras, who says that souls of animals enter into the bodies of men, now I have started believing this theory. Thy courage spirit, you can say wolfish, like that of a wolf or a dog. Your wolfish spirit governed a wolf who hanged for human slaughter. Now, this spirit of yours, which is like that of a wolf, he was governed, means inhabited the body of a wolf, hanged for human slaughter, who was hanged for killing men. Even from the gallows did his fell soul flee. from the gallows means where he was hanged. From there his fell soul fleet. And whilst thou layest in thy unhallowed dam, again, unhallowed means unholy. Why is he calling her unholy? Because she is a Jew. Dam is the mother. And at the time when you were there in the womb of your mother, infused itself in thee. That spirit of the wolf entered in your body. For because thy desires are wolfish, bloody, starved, and ravenous. Because your desires are wolfish means like that of a wolf, bloody because you want to have blood of this person, starved, hungry, and ravenous. Ravenous means again means hungry and fierce. So your desires are like this. That is why now I believe that you must be having the spirit of a wolf, which was hanged, which was killed for human slaughter, which was killed as a punishment for killing humans. Shylock says, till thou canst rail the seal from off my bond, till you cannot rail means remove the seal. Seal is the signature of my bond, from my bond. Thou but offendest thy lungs to speak so loud. Till the time you can't remove the signatures from my bond, you are doing nothing but only offending your lungs to speak so loudly. Repair thy wit, good youth, or it will fall to cureless ruin. It's better you mend your words. Repair your words means mend your words. Come to your senses. Otherwise, you will destroy yourself. I stand here for law. I am standing here for law. I want justice. Now, meanwhile, Duke reads the letter and he says, this letter from Bellario doth commend. Commend means praise or admire a young and learned doctor to our court. Where is he? So, in the letter there is a mention of a doctor, so he asks, where is he? Nerissa says, he attendeth here hard by, to know your answer whether you will admit him. He's standing here only nearby, and just to know your answer whether you will admit him to the court, whether you will accept him. For that, Duke says, with all my heart, I accept him with all my heart. Some 3 or 4 of you, go give him courteous conduct to this place. So he asked the attendants to escort him. Meantime, the court shall hear Bellario's letter. Meanwhile, let the court hear Bellario's letter. What is written in that letter? He reads, your grace shall understand that at the receipt of your letter, I am very sick. So this letter has been written by Bellario, and in this letter he mentions that you please understand, at the time when I received your letter, I was very sick. But in the instant means at that moment, instant is the moment, but in that moment that your messenger came, the time when your messenger came, in loving visitation is friendly visit. In a friendly visit, was with me a young doctor of Rome. Doctor again means doctor of law. So there is a friend of mine, and in a friendly visit, he was there with me at the time when your messenger came with his message. His name is Balthazar. I acquainted him. Acquainted means informed. I informed him with the cause in controversy. Cause in controversy means of dispute. Okay, matter of dispute between the Jew and Antonio the merchant. I informed him about the matter in dispute between two of them, the Jew and the merchant. We turned over many books together. He is furnished with my opinion. He is furnished means he has been given my opinion, which bettered with his own learning, which improved. Bettered here means improved with his own learning, because he himself is very learned. The greatness whereof means of which I cannot enough commend. The greatness of his learning I cannot commend, cannot praise, comes with him at my importunity. Importunity means request. So he has come over there with my opinion also, and as well as his own learning, to fill up your grace's request in my stead. Stead means place. To fill up your grace's request in my place. I beseech you, I request you, let his lack of years means his age, small age, be no impediment. Impediment means hindrance. Be no impediment to let him lack a reverent estimation. Reverent estimation means high esteem. Okay, like his lack of years means his small image should not be a hindrance in giving him high esteem. Because I never knew so young a body with so old a heart. Because I've never seen such young person with so old a head. Sorry, with older head. Older head means experience, with so much of experience and maturity, you can say. Right? I've never seen such a young man with such maturity. I leave him to your gracious acceptance, whose trial shall better publish his commendation. Now, I leave him to your acceptance, whether you admit him or not, whose trial, the way he tries the case, whose trial shall better publish. Publish means show his commendation. Commendation is praise, admiration. What all I, मैं जितनी भी उसकी तारीफ कर रहा हूँ, ये उसके ट्रायल से प्रूव होगी. You hear the learned Bellario what he writes. आप लोगों ने सुना कि उसने क्या कहा. Enter Portia for Balthazar. तभी वहां पर Portia किसके डिस्गाइज में आती है? Balthazar बन के आती है, disguised as a doctor of laws with attendants. And here I take, it is the doctor come. So he says, I accept the doctor, and then give me your hand. Come you from old Bellario? Portia says, I did, my lord. Duke says, you are welcome. Take your place. Are you acquainted with the difference? Acquainted means informed with the difference. Difference, you can say the dispute that holds this present question in the court. Are you familiar with the dispute? Portia says, as Balthazar, I am informed thoroughly of the case. Which is the merchant here and which is the Jew? Duke says, Antonio and old Shylock both stand forth. Stand forth means stand in front. So Portia says, is your name Shylock? Shylock says, yes, Shylock is my name. Portia, of a strange nature is the suit you follow. The suit, the case which you follow is of a strange nature, yet in such rule that the Venetian law cannot impugn you as you do proceed. Impugn means find fault with. Find fault with your case. As the Venetian law cannot find fault as you do proceed. Then she asked Antonio, you stand within his danger, do you not? तुम समझते हो कि तुम उसके खतरे में हो? Antonio says, I, yes. So he says, जैसा ये कहता है. Portia, do you confess the bond? Do you admit having made this agreement? Antonio says, I do. Yes, I do. Portia, then must the Jew be merciful? Then the Jew should be merciful. उसको थोड़ी sympathy दिखानी चाहिए because he is not denying the bond. Shylock says, on what compulsion must I? Tell me that. What is the compulsion for me to be merciful? Tell me that. Now, on this, Portia makes a very important speech and very famous speech. That is the speech on mercy. Portia says, quality of mercy, quality you can say is the trait or, a characteristic. The quality of mercy is not strained, it is not forced. So when Shylock asks, on what compulsion should I be merciful? She says, no, nobody can put a compulsion on you because this quality of mercy cannot be forced on anybody. It drops as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It drops like the gentle rain. जैसे कि gentle rain falls, it pours down under on the place under it from the sky, as the gentle rain pours from the sky, under the sky on the place on the land. Similarly, this trait of mercy, this feeling of mercy, this emotion also comes on its own gently. It is twice blessed. This trait, mercy is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. Mercy blesses the person who shows mercy, and also it blesses the person who receives mercy. It is mightiest in the mightiest. Mightiest means most powerful. It is mightiest in the mightiest. It is most powerful in the most powerful weapon, that men have. It becomes means suits. It suits the throned monarch. Monarch is the king who is sitting on the throne better than his crown. ये किसी राजा को उसके ताज से भी ज्यादा सूट करती है. His scepter is, you can say a rod, it is a kind of rod, a kind of stick which a king holds. Which a king holds. And this scepter is actually symbolizes his royalty, his royal power. So she says his scepter shows the force of temporal power. Temporal power means earthly power or worldly power, the attribute to awe and majesty. It is the attribute. Attribute is the feature to awe and majesty. Wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. Wherein means in which sits the dread and fear of kings. ये जो उसका स्केप्टर होता है, जो रॉड होता है, that is symbolic of his earthly power, worldly power. संसार में जो उसकी ताकत है, ये उसकी symbolic है, which is a feature to awe and majesty, and there lies the fear of the king. वहां पर राजा का डर होता है. But mercy, kindness is above this sceptered sway. Sway means influence. It is above the influence of this scepter. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It lives in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God Himself. It is an attribute, it is a quality to God Himself. And earthly power doth then show likest gods when mercy seasons justice. Seasons means combines justice. And even this earthly power, this worldly powers, it shows like shows itself like the power of God when mercy combines justice. Therefore, Jew, though justice be thy plea, though justice is your plea, is your request, consider this. Please, इसके बारे में सोचो. That in the cause of justice, none of us should see salvation. Please understand that in the cause of justice, like in this proceeding, if you are provided justice, none of us should see salvation. If we were to be judged according to the strict justice of God, none of us would be saved. Okay, because somehow we all will be doing wrong to this person Antonio. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render the deeds of mercy. Whenever we pray to God, we always pray for mercy, and that same prayer teaches us to show mercy, to do acts of mercy. I have spoke thus much to mitigate the justice of thy plea. In this way, I have spoken much to mitigate. Mitigate is to soften or to moderate the justice of thy plea, which, if thou follow, the strict court of Venice must needs give sentence against the merchant there. तो मैंने बहुत बोल दिया है तुम्हारी इस जस्टिस इस प्ली को सॉफ्ट करने के लिए. लेकिन अगर फिर भी तुम इस प्ली को फॉलो करते हो, इफ यू स्टिल फॉलो दिस स्ट्रिक्ट कोर्ट ऑफ वेनिस हैज टू गिव सेंटेंस अगेंस्ट द मर्चेंट देयर. सेंटेंस हियर मींस जजमेंट. अगर तुम फिर भी लेकिन अपनी प्ली को, अपने केस को फॉलो करते हो, तो जो वेनिस का कोर्ट है उसको इस मर्चेंट के खिलाफ जजमेंट देना पड़ेगा. For that Shylock says, my deeds upon my head. मेरी करनी मेरे सिर पर. I'll suffer for that. I crave the law. I demand the law. मुझे सिर्फ कानून चाहिए, मुझे justice चाहिए. The penalty and forfeit of my bond. So Portia says, is he not able to discharge the money? Is he not able to give the money? Bassanio says, yes. Here I tender it for him in the court. I am ready to give it on his behalf. Yeah, twice the sum. I am ready to give twice the sum. If that will not suffice means satisfy. If that will not suffice, I will be bound to pay 10 times over. अगर वो उससे भी satisfy ना हो, मैं 10 गुना ज्यादा देने को तैयार हूँ. On forfeit of my hands, my head, my heart. On the penalty of my hands, my head, my heart. If this will not suffice, it must appear that malice bears down truth. But still, if he is not satisfied, if I'm ready to give him 10 times, if I'm ready to give him my organs, if still it doesn't satisfy him, then you please understand that malice bears down truth. Malice, ill will, bears down truth. Then he says to the Duke, and I beseech you, I request you, rest once the law to your authority. Rest means modify. Modify once, change the law to your authority only for once, twist the law to your authority, to your power, to do a great right, do a little wrong. एक बड़ा सही करने के लिए, to do a great act of justice, you may commit this slight wrong and curb this cruel devil of his will. Curb means control, restrain this cruel devil of his will. Will here means desire, ill will. जो ये इतनी गलत इच्छा रखता है, उसको कंट्रोल करने के लिए आप प्लीज इस बार जो है ये लॉ को ट्विस्ट कर दीजिए. Portia says, it must not be. नहीं नहीं ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. There is no power in Venice can alter. Alter means change a decree. Decree is the law established. Once a law has been established, then there is no power which can change it. It will be recorded for a precedent. Precedent means as an example. It will be recorded as an example, and many an error by the same example will rush into the state. Many errors might come into the affairs of the state with this example. It cannot be. ऐसा नहीं हो सकता. Now, as soon as Portia says this, then Shylock thinks that she is talking in his favor, and he starts praising, saying, "A Daniel come to judgment, yeah, a Daniel." Now, understand, Daniel was a great Jewish character of Old Testament. Old Testament से लिया गया है ये character, right? A Jewish character. So he, in the Bible, actually, he was known for his wisdom and judgment. So that's why Shylock starts calling her Daniel. "Oh, wise young judge, how do I honor thee?" Now Portia says, "I pray you let me look upon the bond. एक बार मुझे bond देखने दो." Shylock, "Here it is, most reverend doctor, here it is." And then he hands over the paper. Portia says, "Shylock, there is thrice thy money offered thee." तुम्हें 3 गुना पैसा ऑफर किया गया है. An oath, an oath. I have an oath in heaven. Shall I lay perjury upon my soul? Perjury is like sin of breaking an oath. Sin of breaking an oath. He says, "Shall I lay a perjury upon my soul?" No, not for Venice. I am not going to do that for Venice. What do you want? You want me to take the sin of breaking an oath? That I am not going to do for Venice. So Portia says, "Why this bond is forfeit?" Okay, then this bond is forfeit. Matlab, what the time period is over, and lawfully by this the Jew may claim a pound of flesh to be by him cut off nearest the merchant's heart. And by this bond, it is clearly mentioned that once it gets forfeited, then the Jew is liable to take 1 pound of flesh from near merchant's heart. Then, as soon as she reads it, she again asks him, "Be merciful, show kindness, take thrice thy money, bid me tear the bond, और मुझे इस bond को फाड़ने दो." Shylock says, "When it is paid according to the tenor, tenor is the condition, terms, according to the terms in the bond. No, you will be able to tear it only when it is paid according to the terms in the bond. It does appear you are a worthy judge. You know the law. Your exposition has been most sound." Exposition, you can say understanding. Your understanding has been most sound. "I charge you by the law, whereof means of which you are a well deserving pillar, proceed to judgment." Now Shylock praises Portia, and he says that you seem to be very mature, and you understand the law. So now I request you, please proceed with the judgment. Apna faisla sunao. "By my soul I swear there is no power in the tongue of man to alter me. There is no power in the tongue of man, in the language, which can ever change me. I stay here on my bond. I stay on my bond. I just want you to proceed with the judgment." Antonio says, "Most heartily I do beseech the court to give the judgment." Even Antonio, who has resigned to his fate, he also says that, please proceed with the judgment. Portia says, "Why then? Thus it is. All right then. You must prepare your bosom for his knife. Prepare your bosom, your chest for his knife." Shylock says, "Oh, noble judge, oh, excellent young man." Then Portia says, because the intent and purpose of the law hath full relation to the penalty." Because the intent and purpose means meaning and scope of the law has the full penalty, कि full penalty मिलनी चाहिए, which here appeareth due upon the bond, which appears due upon the bond, the penalty is due, and according to the meaning and scope of the law, that should be given. Shylock again, "It is very true, O wise and upright judge. How much more elder art thou than thy looks?" Now Portia says, "Therefore, lay bare your bosom. Lay bare your bosom." Okay, you just uncover it. Shylock, "Aye, yes, his breast. I'm going to have his breast." "So says the bond. It is written in the bond. Does it not, noble judge? Nearest his heart. Those are the very words." Now Portia, "It is so. Yes, it is so." Are there balance here to weigh the flesh? To take the weight, is there a balance here? Shylock says, "I have them ready." Portia, "Have by some surgeon, Shylock, on your charge." On your charge means at your expense. You must have some surgeon also at your expense to stop his wounds. lest otherwise he do bleed to death. Otherwise, he would bleed to death. Shallow. Is it so nominated in the bond? Is it thus mentioned in the bond? Like, is it specified, mentioned in the bond? Portia says, it is not so expressed, but what of that? क्या फर्क पड़ता है? It were good you do so much for charity. कम से कम इतना तो तुम कर ही सकते हो ना? Shallow. I cannot find it. It is not in the bond. Portia. You merchant, have you anything to say? Do you want to say anything? Now she asks Antonio whether he has to say anything. Antonio says, but little, just a brief. I'm armed and well prepared. I'm armed. Armed, you can say, equipped. Now, how is he equipped? He is equipped with spiritual strength. Spiritual strength. Why? Because Antonio has always been a very kind and very what do you call it, God fearing sort of person, who has a kind, righteous, virtuous kind of man. He has always followed the path of right. So this is a kind of a spiritual strength that he has, and he says, I am armed and well prepared. Give me your hand, Bassanio. Fare you well. Grieve not that I am fallen to this for you. Please grieve not. Don't feel sad that I am fallen to this state, fallen to this condition for you, for your sake. For because here fortune here means goddess fortune, because here fortune shows herself more kind than is her custom. Because here goddess fortune is being more kind to me than is her custom, than is her nature. It is still her use. Still means always. It is always her use, you can say, way to let the wretched man outlive his wealth. It is always her way to let the wretched man, wretched means poor man, outlive his wealth, to live to see the ruin of his wealth, ruin of his possession, to view with hollow eye and wrinkled brow. Hollow eye and wrinkled brow means old age, an age of poverty, from which lingering penance, from which lingering means prolonged. Penance is the suffering, penalty, from which prolonged suffering of misery doth she cut me off. He says that otherwise, according to the custom or the habit or the nature of goddess fortune, when a person becomes old, that person has to live a long life where he has to see poverty till his old age. But now you see, when I don't have the resources, when I don't have the means, I have become poor, but I need not to in a way this goddess fortune has cut me off. She has saved me from this prolonged suffering, right? Commend me to your honorable wife. Commend means praise me to your honorable wife. Tell her the process of Antonio's end. Say how I loved you. Speak me fair in death. And when the tale is told, bid her be judge whether Bassanio had not once a love. He says, I don't want anything. I just want you to praise me to your wife. Tell our story of friendship to her, how my life came to an end, and then let her be the judge whether you once had a love or not. Repent but you that you shall lose your friend, and he repents not that he pays your debt. You must only regret. Repent means regret. You must only regret for a fact that you will lose your friend. But I don't regret that I have paid your debts like that. For because if the Jew do cut but deep enough, I'll pay it instantly with all my heart. Because if the Jew make a deep cut, then I will be able to pay all your debts with all my heart, happily, willingly. Bassanio says, Antonio, I am married to a wife which is as dear to me as life itself. But life itself, my wife, and all the world are not with me esteemed above thy life. He says that I'm married to a woman whom I actually love so much. But even that woman, my life, all the world, that is not esteemed to me. I do not regard them above your life. I would lose all. I, yes, sacrifice them all here to this devil to deliver you, to save you. He says, I'm ready to sacrifice them all to save you. Oh, Portia, who is his wife, she says, aside, your wife would give you little thanks for that if she were by you, by to hear you make the offer. Now, Graciano also, he's an outspoken person. Suddenly, he also says, I have a wife who I protest I love. Protest means who I declare I love. I would means I wish she were in heaven so she could entreat. Entreat means request some power to change his courage. Jew, to change this courage, Jew, wolfish Jew. So now Grishanu also says that I also have a wife and I love her, but still I wish that she were in heaven so that she could convince the power, she could convince some gods, goddesses to uh, punish this person. Now Nerissa says, it is well you offer it behind her back. अच्छा है तुम उसके पीछे से ये बात कह रहे हो. This wish would make else an unquiet house. Otherwise, this wish of yours will make an unquiet house. Because they'll be quarreling, you know. Shylock says, these be the Christian husbands. ऐसे होते हैं Christian husbands. I have a daughter. Would any of the stock of Barabbas had been her husband rather than a Christian? Koi bhi stock of Barabbas, you know. Barabbas was actually a notorious criminal. He was a very famous, very popular, notorious criminal. So he says that any stock of Barabbas could be. अच्छा होता कि किसी Barabbas के बच्चे से उसकी शादी हो जाती बजाय एक Christian के. We trifle time, we waste time. I pray you pursue sentence. Please आप अपना judgment दीजिए. Portia says, a pound of that same merchant's flesh is thine. Thine means yours. इस merchant का 1 pound flesh तुम्हारा है. The court awards it and the law doth give it. Court तुम्हें देता है. Shylock, rightful judge, sorry, most rightful judge. Portia then says, and you must cut this flesh from off his breast. और ये flesh उसके breast, उसकी छाती से तुम्हें काटना है. The law allows it and the court awards it. Again, Shylock becomes very happy. Most learned judge, a sentence, come, prepare. But then Portia says, tarry a little. Tarry means wait. Wait a little. There is something else. अभी कुछ और भी है. This bond doth give thee here no jot of blood. लेकिन ये bond तुम्हें जरा भी खून नहीं देता. No drop of blood. The words expressly are a pound of flesh. Take then thy bond, take thou thy pound of flesh, but in the cutting it, if thou dost shed 1 drop of Christian blood, thy lands and goods are by the laws of Venice confiscate unto the state of Venice. But she says that here it is mentioned, the words which are mentioned are a pound of flesh. But you may take your bond, you may take your pound of flesh. But while cutting the pound of flesh, if you shed even a single drop of Christian blood, then all your lands and goods will be confiscated by the state of Venice. Now, as soon as, you know, suddenly the table is turned and Bresciano is like, oh, upright judge, mark Jew, or learned judge. Now, Bresciano is behaving exactly the way Shylock was doing. He starts praising him. Shylock, is that the law? Portia, thyself shall see the act. You yourself can see the act. For because as thou urgest justice, as you urged justice, be assured thou shall have justice more than you desired. क्योंकि तुमने justice मांगा था, तो जितना तुमने मांगा उससे ज्यादा ही justice तुम्हें मिलेगा. Now Bresciano becomes very happy. Oh, learned judge, mark you, a learned judge. Shylock, I take this offer then. Pay the bond thrice and let the Christian go. ठीक है, फिर आप मुझे 3 गुना पैसा दे दीजिए and let the Christian go. Bassanio is ready to give the money. Here is the money. But Portia says, soft, wait. The Jew shall have all justice. उसको सिर्फ justice मिलेगा. Soft, no haste. कोई जल्दबाजी नहीं करनी है. He shall have nothing but the penalty. उसको सिर्फ penalty मिलेगी. Bresciano, oh Jew, an upright judge, a learned judge. Now, Portia, therefore, prepare thee to cut off the flesh. You just prepare yourself to cut off the flesh. Shed thou no blood, जरा भी खून नहीं बहाना, nor cut thou less nor more. ना तो तुम ज्यादा काट सकते हो, ना कम काट सकते हो, but just a pound of flesh. सिर्फ 1 pound flesh तुम्हें काटना है. If thou takest more or less than a just pound, just 1 pound से तुमने थोड़ा भी ज्यादा या कम लिया, be it but so much as makes it light or heavy in the substance. अगर वो इतना हुआ कि इस substance में, इस balance में वो जरा भी light या heavy हो गया, substance is the weight, अगर वो weight में जरा भी light या heavy हो गया, or the division of the 20th part of one poor scruple, अगर एक scruple का 20th part भी वो divide हो गया, आए If the scale do turn, but in the estimation of a hair, अगर जो weighing scale है वो एक बाल बराबर भी इधर उधर turn हो गया, thou diest, you will die, and all thy goods are confiscated. So Gratiano, a second Daniel, a Daniel Jew, now infidel, I have you on the hip. Now Gratiano is, so happy for that. Portia says, why doth the Jew pause? Why have you stopped? Take thy forfeiture, take your penalty. Now, because Shylock was paused for some time, Shylock could not understand what all is happening. So Shylock says, give me my principal and let me go. Give me my principal, that is 3,000 ducats, and let me go. Bassanio, I have it ready for thee. Here it is. But then Portia says, he hath refused it in the open court. Usne open court mein refuse kiya tha. He shall have merely justice and his bond. उसको सिर्फ justice मिलेगा, उसका bond मिलेगा और कुछ नहीं. Again Gratiano, a Daniel still, a second Daniel. I thank thee, Jew, for teaching me that word. Actually, Shylock only was calling her Daniel. Shylock, shall I not have barely my principal? मुझे क्या मतलब अपना principal तक भी नहीं मिलेगा? For that, Portia says, thou shalt have nothing but the forfeiture. Forfeiture, that is penalty to be so taken at thy peril, Jew. Peril is risk, which you have to take at your risk. Shallow. Why then? The devil give him good of it. Okay, then the devil give him good of it means may the devil take him. I'll stay no longer question. I will stay no longer here for any question, for any further talk, for any argument. And then he begins to exit. वो वहां से जाने की कोशिश करता है. तभी पोर्शिया कहती है, tarry Jew, wait, रुको. The law hath another hold on you. There is another hold which law has on you. It is enacted in the laws of Venice. Enacted means decreed. It is mentioned in the laws of Venice. If it be proved against an alien is a foreigner. अगर किसी foreigner के खिलाफ ये prove हो जाता है that by direct or indirect attempts he seek the life of any citizen. If he seeks the life of any citizen, if he tries to take the life of any citizen by direct or indirect attempts, the party against the which he doth contrive means plot. The party against whom he plots shall seize one half of his goods. अगर कोई फॉरेनर किसी सिटीजन के अगेंस्ट उसकी काम करता है और उसकी लाइफ लेने की कोशिश करता है, he tries to kill him by direct or indirect attempt, then the party against whom he has plotted, that is liable to take वन हाफ ऑफ हिज गुड्स. उसकी जितनी प्रॉपर्टी है, जितने गुड्स हैं, उसका वन हाफ यानी कि उसका आधा उसके हिस्से में जाता है. The other half comes to the privy coffer of the state, and the other half, privy coffer is the treasury of the state. जो बाकी आधा है वो state treasury में जाता है, right? And the offender's life, जो accused है उसकी जो life है, lies in the mercy of the duke only against all other boys, and his life will be at the mercy of the duke. In which predicament is the difficult situation, in which difficult situation I say thou stands. And I say, Portia says, I say that you stand in this difficult situation. For because it appears by manifest proceeding is like clear evidence. It appears by clear evidence from what has happened that indirectly and directly too thou hast contrived against the very life of the defendant, she is calling actually Antonio, and thou hast incurred the danger formerly by me rehearsed. She says formerly by me rehearsed means declared by me earlier. Declared by me earlier. She says that it is very much evident from what all has happened that you have tried to plot against the life of the defendant, and you were already told about this danger. Down therefore and beg mercy of the duke. तो अब झुक जाओ, ड्यूक के पैरों में गिर जाओ to ask for the mercy. Gratiano says, beg that thou mayst have leave to hang thyself. It's better you request, you beg the duke to that he should give you permission to hang yourself. And yet thy wealth being forfeit to the state, और जबकि अब तुम्हारा जो पैसा है वो तो स्टेट के पास चला गया है. thou has not left the value of a cord, cord is a rope, तुम्हारे पास तो अब एक रस्सी लायक खरीदने लायक भी पैसे नहीं बचे हैं. therefore thou must be hanged at the state's charge, तो तुम्हें hanged भी स्टेट के एक्सपेंस पे ही होना पड़ेगा. charge here means expense. Now for this the Duke says, that thou shalt see the difference of our spirit, I pardon thee thy life before thou ask it. So that you are able to see the difference of our spirit, the difference between your disposition and our disposition, I pardon you your life even before you ask for it. For half thy wealth, it is Antonio's, तुम्हारी आधी wealth तो अब Antonio की है. The other half comes to the general state, general use of state. जो बाकी half है वो state की हो गई है. Which humbleness may drive unto a fine. Which humbleness means if you show humility, this may be reduced to a फाइन. मतलब तुम्हारा आधा पैसा ट्रेजरी में देने की लेने की बजाय हम उस वी कैन रिड्यूस इट टू अ फाइन, हम उसको एक फाइन में बदल कर ले सकते हैं. For that, Portia says, I, yes, for the state, not for Antonio. Yes, but that can be done only for the state, not. So when the Duke says that the half of the wealth of Shallow can be reduced to a fine, for that Portia says, I, yes, for the state, not for Antonio, but that can be done only for the state, not for Antonio. Shylock says, Nay, no, take my life and all. It's better you take my life and all. Pardon not that. मतलब आप मेरा जीवन ही ले लो, उसको पार्डन करने की जरूरत नहीं है. You take my house when you do take the prop that does sustain my house. It's better you take my house when you have taken the prop, the property, or the resources that sustains my house. You take my life when you do take the means whereby I live. It's better you take my life when you are taking the means by which I live. So for that, Portia says, what mercy can you render him, Antonio? So in a way, now you see, earlier Shylock was asked to show mercy, but he wasn't ready. Now he is shown mercy by these people. So Portia asks Antonio, what mercy can you render him? Bresciano says, a halter gratis, nothing else. Just give him a halter. Halter is a rope to hang himself. Gratis, free of charge, nothing else. Just give him a rope to hang himself free of charge, nothing else, for God's sake. But then Antonio says, so please my lord the duke and all the court to quit the fine for one half of his goods. I am happy, so please, if it pleases my lord the duke and all the court to quit the fine. To quit means to be satisfied with the fine for one half of his goods. I am content. I am satisfied with that. So he will let me have the other half in use. I am satisfied with the fact that Duke and all the court has reduced one half of his goods to a fine. अब आप उसका आधी संपत्ति नहीं ले रहे हो, उसके बदले में आप सिर्फ फाइन ले रहे हो, मुझे उसकी खुशी है. So he will let me have the other half in use, so that he will let me have the other half of his wealth to be kept by me in trust. In use means in trust, जिससे कि उसकी जो बाकी आधी वेल्थ है अब वो मैं रख सकता हूँ यूज के लिए, ट्रस्ट के लिए. टू रेंडर इट, टू गिव इट अपॉन हिज डेथ unto the gentleman that lately means recently stole his daughter. So that I would like to have the other half of his wealth to be kept by me in trust, so that I can give it to the gentleman who has recently stolen his daughter, means who has run away with his daughter, that is Lorenzo. He is talking about Lorenzo here. Two things provided more, और इसके साथ साथ दो चीजें और, that for his favor he presently becomes a Christian. For his favor he presently means at once. For his favor means in return for this favor, कि ये जो फेवर मैं उसके साथ कर रहा हूं उसके रिटर्न में he should become a Christian. The other condition is that he do record a gift. Gift is a legal document, you know. Record a gift is like draw a legal document. Draw a legal document here in the court of all he dies possessed unto his son Lorenzo and his daughter. That all that he owns when he dies is given to his son-in-law and his daughter. For that, Duke says, he shall do this. Usko aisa karna padega, or else, or otherwise, I do recant. Recant means withdraw the pardon that I late pronounced. Otherwise, I withdraw the pardon that I late. I late means recently pronounced here. For that, Portia says, are thou contented, Jew? Jew, are you satisfied? What? What does thou say? What do you have to say? Shylock says, I am content, I am satisfied. Portia, clerk, draw a deed of gift. Shylock, I pray you give me leave to go from hence. Leave means permission to go from here. I ask for your permission to go from here. I am not well. Send the deed after me. मेरे deed बाद में भेज देना. I will sign it. Duke says, get thee gone, but do that. तुम जा सकते हो, लेकिन sign कर देना. Then Gratiano says, in questioning shall thou have two godfathers. Had I been judge, thou should have had 10 more to bring thee to the gallows, not to the font. Font is the actually bowl on a raised platform containing holy water for the ceremony of baptism. Baptism is like christening only. So when a man is admitted to the Christian faith by baptism with water, he has a godfather and a godmother who are responsible to see that he grows up a good Christian. Okay, so now he says, Gratiano says, in christening, that way you will have two godfathers. But if I had been the judge, I would have given 10 more godfathers to take you to the gallows. Okay, so godfather was actually also a funny name given to the members of a jury, a body of 12 men, who were needed to pass a sentence against a criminal. So that's what Gratiano says. Now Duke says, sir, I entreat you home with me to dinner. Now Shylock exits, and after that Duke asks Portia, I request you to come home with me to dinner, to have dinner with me. Portia says, I humbly do desire your grace of pardon. मैं आपसे माफी चाहूंगी. I must away this night toward Padua, and it is meet I presently set forth. Meet means necessary, and it is necessary that I set forth presently. Presently means at once. Duke says, I am sorry that your leisure serves you not. Antonio, gratify this gentleman. And now he says, I'm sorry that you don't have free time, to spend with me. Then he asks Antonio, gratify. Gratify means reward this gentleman. For in my mind, you are much bound to him. Much bound means you are much indebted to him. So you just reward this gentleman. And then the Duke and his train of followers also exit from there. Now Bassanio says to Portia as Balthazar, most worthy gentlemen, I and my friend have by your wisdom been this day acquitted. Acquitted means relieved of grievous penalties, in lieu of which means in exchange of which, lieu means exchange of which, 3,000 ducats due unto the Jew, we freely cope your courteous pains withal. Freely cope means most willingly pay your courteous pains withal. He says that I and my friend are relieved by your wisdom only from this serious penalty, and these 3,000 ducats which were due on that Jew, now we would like to give it to you willingly for your pains that you have taken. Antonio says, and stand indebted over and above in love and service to you evermore. Evermore means always. And we always stand indebted, और फिर भी हम पूरे ऊपर से नीचे तक तुम्हारे कर्जे में हमेशा रहेंगे. Portia says, he is well paid, that is well satisfied. अगर कोई well satisfied है तो वो well paid है. And I delivering you means saving you am satisfied. और आपको बचाकर मैं satisfied हूँ. And therein do account myself well paid. और इस तरह से मैं अपने आप को well paid account करता हूँ, right? My mind was never yet more mercenary. Mercenary means money minded. मेरा माइंड कभी भी बहुत ज्यादा मॉनेटरी टर्म्स में नहीं था. I pray you know me when we meet again. I just pray you know me means recognize me. When we meet again, I wish you well, and so I take my leave. And then she begins to exit. But then Bassanio says, dear sir, of force I must attempt you further. Of force, of necessity, I must attempt you further. Attempt you further means I must try to influence you. Take some remembrance of us. Remembrance means memory of us as a tribute. आप कुछ memory ले लीजिए, something to remind you as a tribute, as a token of respect, not as fee. Grant me two things, I pray you, not to deny me and to pardon me. मुझे दो चीजें ग्रांट कर दीजिए कि not to refuse this request and to forgive me for making this request. For Portia says, you press me afar, means you push me hard, and therefore I will yield. Therefore, I will ask for it. Okay, give me your gloves. I'll wear them for your sake. वो एंटोनियो से कहती है, give me your gloves. आप मुझे अपने gloves दे दीजिए. I'll wear them for your sake. And then she asks, and for your love, I'll take this ring from you. ये वो किससे बोलती है? बेसानियो से बोलती है. And for your love, I'll take this ring from you. अब जैसे ही वो रिंग के लिए पूछती है तो बेसानियो मस्ट बी पुशिंग हिज हैंड बैकवर्ड, सो शी इज लाइक, डू नॉट ड्रॉ बैक योर हैंड, हाथ अपना वापस मत लीजिए. आई टेक नो मोर, आई टेक नो मोर मीन्स नथिंग एल्स, मैं कुछ और नहीं लूंगी. एंड यू इन लव शैल नॉट डिनाई मी दिस, और तुम मुझे मना नहीं कर सकते इस रिंग के लिए. बेसानियो, दिस रिंग गुड सर, अलास इट इज अ ट्रिफल. इट इज अ ट्रिफल मीन्स इट इज इनसिग्निफिकेंट, ये तो कुछ भी नहीं है, छोटी सी रिंग है. आई विल नॉट शेम माई सेल्फ टू गिव यू दिस. मैं आई कांट शेम माई सेल्फ टू गिव यू दिस सच ट्रिफल रिंग. Portia says, I will have nothing else but only this. मैं तो कुछ और नहीं लूंगी, यही लूंगी. And now methinks I think I have a mind to it, means I want to have it. Bassanio, there is more depends on this than on the value. There is more which depends on this ring than on the value of it. The dearest ring in Venice, dearest means most expensive. The most expensive ring in Venice uh, will I give you, and find it out by proclamation. Proclamation means public announcement. He says that I will find the most expensive ring by making public announcement in Venice, and आई विल गिव यू दैट. ओनली फॉर दिस आई प्रे यू पार्डन मी. सिर्फ आप इसके लिए मुझे माफ कर दीजिए. Portia says, I see you, sir. You are liberal in offers only. तुम सिर्फ offers देने में liberal हो. You taught me first to beg, and now methinks you teach me how a beggar should be answered. You only asked me to beg first, and now you are teaching me how a beggar should be answered. Bassanio says, good sir, this ring was given me by my wife. And when she put it on, she made me vow. Vow means promise that I should neither sell nor give nor lose it. ये मेरी वाइफ ने दी थी और उसने मुझसे प्रॉमिस लिया था. Portia says that excuse serves, this excuse serves many men to save their gifts. ये बहुत ही common excuse है जो अक्सर men करते हैं अपने gifts को बचाने के लिए. And if your wife be not a mad woman, अगर तुम्हारी wife कोई बेवकूफ नहीं है, पागल नहीं है, and know how well I have deserved this ring, और वो ये समझती होगी कि ये ring मैं कितना deserve करती हूँ, she would not hold out enemy forever for giving it to me. She would never quarrel with you for giving it to me. Well, peace be with you. It's okay. You be happy. And then Portia and Nerissa exit from there. But now at that time, Antonio says, my Lord Bassanio, let him have the ring. Tum ring usko de do. Let his deservings and my love withal be valued against your wife's commandments. Commandments means command. Let his worth and my love should be valued more than your wife's command. Then Bassanio says, go Graciano, run and overtake him, give him the ring and bring him, if thou can, unto Antonio's house. तुम ये रिंग उसको दे दो और कोशिश करो अगर वो एंटोनियो के घर आ जाए. Away, make haste, जल्दी करो. And then Graciano exits. Come, you and I will thither presently. Thither means we'll go to your house. There means your house presently. Presently is at once. And in the morning early will we both fly toward Belmont. और कल सुबह होते ही हम Belmont निकल जाएंगे. Come Antonio. And then they exit from there.